relationship with Buhari is that of father, son, mentor, mentee, leader, follower, because he was always there for me.
So, would we say in a nutshell that the man Buhari inability to micro manage was the reason why we didn't get the kind of result we expected?
Sir, I don't know what result you expected, but I think as a member of his team, Buhari did his best. And one of the things I was able to achieve in office.
No, Alhaji, we'll come to that. I just wanted to ask that question. Was it his inability? Will you say because he gave people a lot of free hands to do whatever they did, some of them took advantage of it and did not deliver?
Well, if anybody abused the trust, you cannot blame the leader. But I agree at the end of the day, the buck stops President. Oh yes. But I think those who abuse the trust are the ones who should be worried.
Okay. Thank you, Alhaji. Because why I'm asking that, we are already seeing I don't want to, because you didn't write it in this book about the CBN. Because it was very strong. I looked. I wanted to really ask you about that. Because I'm a finance person. So I was looking for that. Why am I saying that? The currency, what do I call the currency swapped, or this currency hardest thing that hit Nigeria. It killed a lot of businesses that were not able to stand up back again till today. The informal sector in the Nigerian economy is largely driven by liquidity, cash. At that point, Nigeria could not access cash, whether through and that really made a lot of Nigerians today still think that single policy was what caused the exchange rate to go to where it is today. Because again, we saw FX became a major challenge. And yet, we're told our reserve is doing well. And then after he left, with the kind of stories, and well, just like, for me, like I told you in private, I like the years of Muhammadu Buhari history of Nigeria economically. We've seen, by virtue of what they didn't do, we saw what the exchange rate became today. Because at a point, we're seeing CBN releasing 200 million every week to bureau de change. And yet, we saw a rate move from 360 to about 700. And that money was still being released. But I just want to, do you think it's micro thing didn't help in the area of the economy?
Thank you, Mukhtar. Like I say, you see, what Buhari did and what he did not do, the jury is still out. However, in respect of the Naira
Yes.
swap, or the
Naira
change,
in redesigning
of the currency, I make bold to say that people actually exploited Buhari's aversion to corruption.
Mm.
They came to him with a proposal that the best way to ensure that money does not play a major role in 2023 elections was to change the design of the Naira. You see, whatever proposal you bring to Buhari and you hinge it on fighting corruption, you are likely going to succeed. But also remember that he also asked them certain questions which they answered, and he asked them to go ahead. Two, you must also appreciate the fact that the central bank enjoys a lot of independence. As a matter of fact, in my 8 years as minister, I never saw a memorandum from the CBN for approval from the president. The CBN governor is not a member of the cabinet, yet he is more powerful than all the ministers put together. So I think this probably in part explains why people have that perception. And when people tell me that, Buhari did not do well in terms of economy, I tell them that Buhari campaigned largely on his integrity, on his incorruptibility, and that it's the failure of any government. Of course, you are going to put it, the doorstep of the president. But I think the entire cabinet will also have a share of the blame.
Thank you, Alex. Just trying to clear that. Because it's not in the book. I looked for it. Because I know at the time we're doing this currency redesign, there were a lot of press conferences regarding what in that currency when the hardship was high. So I really went through this book. I was looking for it. I didn't see it. I just went to answer. Okay, now another major issue that we had during your administration was a big problem to the youth. Social media. The silent, you put it in chapter 14 of your book. It says, the story of Nigerians Twitter suspension. That one thing the youth of today still keeps talking about. They were not really happy about that. Why was Twitter suspended? Because it was the voice of the voiceless. And at that time, it was the voice of the youth. But I remember you saying something that Twitter almost, on a lighter note, almost made you... The social media almost made you lose your marriage.
Yes.
So can we say that was the reason why, when it was time to suspend them, because Twitter was part of the social media at that time. So what was the reason behind the suspension of Twitter? And I think I still had an interview. You still think up to this moment that there should be regulation of the social media. Why?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Twitter is part of the social media. You're right. And it's true that I almost lost my marriage as a result of social media. See, what social media did was they actually came out with this story about how much money each minister had I think they put $1.9 billion against my name in a bank that I don't even know. Of course, I knew it was fake news. But my wife did not think so. And in the middle of the night, one day, my wife woke me up. I was a bit afraid. What's happening? My wife told me in Yoruba, "Hey, Daddy, Aleloma Akpe, Oya. Aleloma Ya, Kokpe. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, àkáǹtì yín tó wà ní Elfas yẹn. Ẹ jẹ́ kí èmi náà jẹ́ signatory." In other words, what happened was my wife woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "You see, this life, we might say we are going to live long, but not. So please, Daddy, that your account, where you have 1.9 billion, I also want to be a signatory to it." And I said, "Mommy, 1.9 billion, where would it come from?" In the middle of the night, I had to go and look for a calculator. This is how much the budget of Ministry of Information is. Let's even say 10 billion naira every year. Even if I steal all of it, in 3 years, that will only give me 30 billion. Look at what you are saying that I have. It was only then that my wife said, she never thought about that way. But actually, that her peers and her colleagues have been saying that, look, you are trusting your husband, you are defending him. He has another wife in the US who's managing that account. And fortunately, we were able to resolve it. Now, but that's not why Twitter was suspended. Twitter was suspended because Twitter became the platform of choice for fake news, for disinformation, and for hate news. All those who wanted to destabilize Nigeria went to Twitter. I had Twitter, the banner of Twitter is probably one of the most difficult decisions I had to make. Why? Because I knew many young men and women used Twitter to advertise their services and their goods. They also used Twitter. So many of the influencers also were on Twitter. The second reason why I was reluctant to suspend Twitter services was because of the optics. It will send the wrong message, as Nigeria is not tolerant, and that the expression of that we do believe in freedom of expression. However, when you balance all this against national security, your choice is made easier for you. So really, we did not suspend Twitter because what many people thought was that we suspended Twitter services because Twitter removed a tweet by President Muhammadu Buhari under their abusive policy. It's not correct. You know, as a matter of fact, I can tell you that when I went to, and it's in this book also, when I went to Buhari to ask for permission to suspend Twitter, he asked me only 2 questions. He said, Lai, I hope it's not because they removed my tweet. I said, no, sir. He said, do you have the capacity? I said, yes, sir. That was it. But you see, and I must say that it's in this book also that Twitter was being hypocritical. The tweet that Nnamdi Kanu sent about Nigeria, calling Nigeria a zoo, and saying that anybody that comes to Biafra, will be dead. They did not remove it, despite the complaints of many Nigerians. So you could see that even Twitter was not sincere. Plus, Mukhtar, we had warned several times all these social media platforms that it's because Nigeria exists as a country. That's where you can do business. And if you know the role that Twitter played during NSAS, it bothered us. I'm sure you are coming to talk about that later. You see, if you recall, it was as if Twitter had a particular interest in Nigeria. It came to Nigeria, and the day after the NSAS protests were dispersed, all kinds of headlines came out. Massacre at the toll gate, 100 lives lost. Massacre at the toll gate, 80 people killed. And what Twitter did was actually to, use these headlines, and they tweeted it all over the world. So when the issue of Twitter suspension came, we were more worried and more concerned about the role Twitter played, not just during NSAS, but generally in sending out fake news
Okay.
and
Elijah.
disinformation.
I mean, you need to read this book. And we're just touching the surface. You need to read this book about some of these questions I'm asking him about the Twitter suspension. And to the chapter 15 of this book, I'm sure everybody all over the world must have read that chapter more. Anybody that have this book will actually go to read this chapter more. Again, with the vintage Alhaji Lai Mohammed, you put the headline there, a massacre without bodies. That's vintage Lai Mohammed. So, was there, nobody was killed? Nobody was shot? When they were singing the national anthem? Did you see that video? CNN ran a report that period and brought like there was a gunshot, and after that everywhere became very dark. And again, who gave the instruction to be shot? Some said the instruction came from the presidency. Some said it came from the governor of Lagos State. Some said the soldiers were trigger happy. So, what is really the story of the massacre without bodies?
I think I would refer you to my same book. The chapter, what's chapter 15, right? Now, what page is chapter 15?
Yes, chapter 15.
I think it's
chapter 15, page 427.
427.
Yes.
Now, I think your first question was, did anybody die
Yes.
during NSAS?
During NSAS.
Oh, yes.
At the toll gate.
No.
It's the toll gate I want.
No, exactly. You see, at no point did the government say people did not die.
No, I know.
NSAS.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm not at the toll gate.
At the toll gate,
Nobody was shot.
nobody. You see,
The army didn't release.
massacre. A massacre.
Is it the word now?
Listen, a massacre will leave three things behind. One, corpses.
Yeah.
Two, grieving families. Thirdly, evidence. 5 years today after so-called massacre, nobody has come out to say my son or my daughter went to the toll gate and didn't come back. You see, this is Common sense. No matter, even under the military, you will not stop a woman from money his son, his daughter. Yes, there was shooting at the toll gate, but they fired blank shots. And I kept saying this. You see, some people have been wired to believe the worst about the government. And there's no evidence that you want to give them.
No, Elijah, don't give them all. Don't want that. They have to buy the book. It's okay, Elijah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to hear more about the massacre without the body? Please buy the book. We just want to give a tip. So you've given, it's vintage. Elijah Lemon. You see that I love that chapter. Chapter 15 ends at a massacre without bodies. I had to read it. So, Elijah, it's not all gloomy. There are two more stories that we will talk about, and then we can entertain questions. One is in chapter 12, winning twice, Nigerian P and ID victory in the court of law and court of public opinion. For me, that was the greatest achievement of the administration.
Thank you. At least we had one.
That was the greatest achievement of the Buhari administration. And from what we gathered from the beer parlor, and the beer parlor, the beer parlor news, this was largely driven by the now most criticized CBN governor, Emefiele. Because we're made to understand he was the one that told the president, we will not pay this money. We will go to court and we will win. Yeah. But how we get that point? All Nigeria, we thought, how did it happen?
Thank you, Mukhtar. What I wrote there, win it twice. One, in the court of public opinion, and second, in the court of law. That's from my own perspective. You see, when the issue of P&ID came up, and this was a contract entered into about 2012 or 2013, I can remember. But by the time we woke up, sometimes in September or October 2019, we were slapped with a $9.6 billion bill that we had to pay.
The trading reserve.
Yes.
If we pay that one, we would have just less than 15 billion in our reserve.
Absolutely. So, of course, the government felt we should go to court and challenge it. I now and my team felt, yes, this matter will not only be won in the court of law, also be won in the public opinion. So the first thing we did, after consultation with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Central Bank, Minister of Finance, Attorney General, was to have a world press conference in Abuja and explain and expose the fraud, and that we are going to fight it. Then when I came over to Lagos, and here, Mr. Bismarck Rewani was fantastic, was able to arrange for me major multinationals, investors, and ambassadors so that we could assure them that there should be no panic, that we are going to fight this matter and we are going to win. After which we proceeded to London with the CBN governor, Attorney General, the IG, police, the EFCC chairman, myself, and a couple of other people. And our strategy in London was very simple. We would go to every international media house. We'll address every global think tank. and put our case across while the legal team was building our case in court. So we visited CNN, Al Jazeera, Reuters, AFP, all the major international, BBC, and told them our story ahead of court. Because we put the Attorney General in front to tell the story, but we mobilized the media. And you see, because even judges listen, even judges read. And I think we were able to put things in a better perspective. And I'm glad, not only was the arbitration claim declared fraudulent, even up to last year, I think, or sorry about, they were asked to pay our legal fees. You see, but this, to me, the first instance and example where you use communication to assist in legal matters. Because what we did also, which was good, was that we also brought to the consciousness of Nigerians the issue of P&ID, so that they would know what we're up to.
Okay, thank you, Alhaji. For me, that was a sweet victory. I'm still celebrating that victory today because, again, it was in the international court. It was not in the local court, so that you won't say one judge was bribed. So for me, that was a good victory for Nigeria, and we are still enjoying that dividend of that victory up to today. Malaji, I want to talk about when the Minister for Information. At that time, at the point, we were supposed to be Minister for Information and Culture. Were you Minister for Information and Culture?
Yes, I was Minister for Information and Culture. I was also Minister for Tourism, and also Minister for National Orientation.
No, it's a Okometa, what they call it. Yeah, Meta.
I tell you.
Okay. Yes. There's one thing you did in the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry is Nigerian most, don't be jealous, after the industry, which Nigerian has been globally. We are known, you go to Paris, you go to London, you go to New York, you see a Nigerian bank there. After that, one area that Nigerians really strive was in the entertainment industry, and largely driven by, and we have been one of the most success story in the world. Before now, we have music. You used to play foreign music in discos and this, but this abroad, they play Nigerian music. And it's all about tourism or culture. You did something remarkable, the National Theatre.
My name is Yinka Abioye. I am the chairman of the new Festac Africa Festival. We have Renaissance Festac of 1977. We've done 4 years in a row. We're hoping to do something in Nigeria next year. And I'm glad the comment around the National Theatre came up. I've gone to look at it. A job well done. More power to you. For me, I think it's more of a softie. Headlines and sound bites. And a black and white book. What is the message around the book? It's a very voluminous book. Is the message more for people to dig in and track each item that comes to their mind? Or is it a chronological story of what you had accomplished? Thank you very much.
Generally, is how you can use the media as a government communicator to actually define and shape the administration. In other words, what you find here will be communication tools and strategies for you that you can use to add value to a government. See, when you read this book, you find out that there are some initiatives that you make as an information minister that would have an impact on government. For instance, the issue of town hall meetings. We invented it, and we saw it as a platform through which the government can speak to the governed and get a feedback. Tour of government projects also, it was our own idea to add value to government. Testimony series, the same thing. And when you look at inside Buhari's administration, the scorecard project, it's one of the novel manner of campaigning. Because in the run-up to the 2023 elections, the opposition said, oh, this government has nothing to campaign because they have done nothing. So we decided to have a scorecard series where all ministers will come and give an account of their stewardship, thereby giving every kind of APC campaign material. And then, if you read this book also, you see that every year we went to Washington and we went to London to defend the government on topical issues. And when the election of the president became quite, contentious, when we were told that LP won, because on the social media, LP won the elections. And everybody was believing it. We had to go to the US and to London, and we engaged congressional aides, we engaged international media, we engaged global think tanks. So this book is good for researchers, it's good for communications, and political students. It's also good for policymakers because it tells you how you can use, government communication to actually, drive an administration. Sometimes, we set the pace for government, and that's the beauty of, administration. If you do something that is right, you'll be encouraged. When we went to Konduga, Kaure, Bama, was to change the narrative, because before then nobody believed that the military had actually, made such a, success. But when we went there with journalists and he came back, we changed the narrative. So that is what is in that book. Thank you.
I recall our paths actually crossed on one of my travels to Abuja. And there's this myth that once a minister, you cannot, can be bold and daring sometimes in my life. And I walked up to you. Good afternoon, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, how are you? Fortunately for me, when we were going to the baggage site, we were in the same, and since then, anytime you had Unitiri, and it clicked from there. Thank you so much for that fatherly advice all this while. And my question, sir, in the course of a presentation this afternoon, you mentioned the late PMB to be a very cool, calm, and collected human being during his lifetime. However, he made a stern statement sometime about our youth that they are very, very lazy. Sir, what could have prompted that kind of statement from him? Thank you, sir.
Buhari loved the youth. I could see that from all his projects and all his programs. The context within which he made that statement is what we should interrogate, not just those words. But Buhari believed very much in our youth.
I am the GM CEO of National Theatre, and I think one of the things you did in your as Minister of Culture and Information was to create the public-private partnership between, as you said, the Bankers Committee and the ministry. And the building is beautiful. It's world class. It's good for Nigeria. Everyone's proud when they come to the building. But I mean, what's happened now has become so commercialized that it's quite difficult for those in the cultural space to be able to even afford to use the building. So in hindsight now, this is something you would have really spoken into, because it's very challenging now for many people who come in, who love the space, but they can't afford to use the space. And we're working on it. We're looking at ways to address this issue. But I'd like you to sort of speak into that. And we know that it's good to have a private sector-led building for maintenance, sustainability, all those long-term gains. But you know, the building is for Nigerians to enjoy and to have programming that will address things for the youth and the general public. Thank you.
You see, we were very careful. In the MOU, there was a clause that says that 20% of all the bookings will be reserved for new and upcoming artists. Please check that MOU. We are very clear about it, because we know that the job of National Theatre is also to groom up and coming artists, and that they will not be able to afford the commercial rate that the Bankers Committee will want to charge. Please insist on that clause.
You are in opposition, and you are also a government spokesman within 15 years or so, if my math is right. Now, the Nigerian media historically have been adversarial. From Lagos Weekly Record, 1920, 1900 to 20, about Macaulay, Lagos Daily News, West African Pilot, Daily Service, and all that. And even in the modern era, The Guardian, and all that, they always thrive on opposition. Now, you made that, use that very well when you are opposition person. But then you are paid back in your own coin when you are minister. Now, looking back as a practitioner, what do you think of the Nigerian media in their historical role? And I get so worried, because it's like you tend to minimize what is good and get overjoyous over what is bad. What does that do for nation building? You have been opposition and government, and you are opposed to comment on him. Please comment, sir.
What led to that edifice being transformed? Even if you did not conclude it, then the current administration, I think they finally concluded it. But what led to that transformation that we saw? And it was actually led by the same CBN governor. And CBN took it like a corporate social responsibility to transform the National Theatre.
I'm glad that the GM of National Theatre is here. Thank you very much for coming. But you see, number one, the project was completed before we left, but it was not commissioned.
Not commissioned
until we left. That's a different ballgame. So I think we just want to put that in, context. Now, what happened was that it's what is called Bankers Committee. Every year, the Bankers Committee, and the chairman of Bankers Committee is always the CBN governor. They pick on a project. I think there's either 1% or 2% of all the profit the banks make. They would decide every year on what project to invest in. Sometimes it could be health. Sometimes it could be environment. Somehow in 2019, decided that it was going to be in the creative industry, the economy. Now, so the central bank governor wrote a memo, Mr. President, informing the president that the Bankers Committee was ready to invest 100 billion naira in the industry. And they asked Mr. President that they should be given the fallow land, the National Theatre, to develop into 3 verticals, 4 verticals, one for fashion, one for IT, one for music, and one for film. Thank you, ma'am. And this memo got to the president at a time when ministers had been asked to go home, because we were not re-engaged in about August or thereabout. So the president approved, but asked them to please liaise with the relevant stakeholders. So I was reappointed luckily. Then one day I was in my office and my permanent secretary ran to me. Said, Oga, come and see you. They have taken over National Theatre. Said, nobody can take over National Theatre without. He said, Oga, please tune to NTA. And I did. And really, I saw the CBN governor. I saw some people and they were trying to do handover. I said, don't worry. Grace, don't worry. They'll come back to us. Within an hour, I got a call from the governor of Lagos State. Say, look, Alhaji, I need to come and see you. So he came and explained. So you know what, sir? That he explained to me that when there was no minister, he got this approval. And I told him, I said, you see, it's my head that is bushy. And you want to cut it for me? How will I complain? I said, you want to invest 100 billion naira, you and the CBN. The Bankers Committee, sorry. Want to invest 100 billion naira. If I stay 10 years as minister, I will never get 10 billion naira. So come, let's talk. When we started talking, I said, you see, I don't agree with your investing 100 billion naira in those 4 verticals. Let us first fix and rehabilitate the National Theatre. After we've done that, then come and use your money for the 4 verticals. And they reasoned and saw with me. And of course, there were many obstacles. First was the union. We had to convince them, one, that no job will be lost, nobody will be retrenched. 2, we have to convince them that once the National Theatre is completed, they will be fairly accommodated. About that is in the overall interest of Nigeria. I thank God today that if you go to the National Theatre, after almost 46 years of decay, we have a brand new National Theatre.
Thank you, Alhaji. Because again, the other one we'll talk about, but let's leave it. Go and buy the book. We wanted to talk about the NTA digital transformation that we never saw. But I think you did that explanation. So we are running out of time. So we need to be going fast because it's supposed to be a 1-hour event. But when you have, so not every time you have people like Alhaji Lai Mohammed coming to explain things about his book. So that's why we've come this. But it will not end without me asking you maybe 2 questions. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. So from there we can now take the audience. The question I want to ask you is the man called our current president, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. You said something about him. You said you went into a place, you saw somebody that was an opposition. And you went back to Asiwaju and said, what is this man doing here? This man, he said, like, sit down. And he told you, you have to carry everybody along. We've heard so many stories. He's a man that rewards loyalty. He's a man that does not forget people that have been kind to him. For me now, I don't know about them. Me. I'm surprised that Alhaji Lai is not in Asiwaju. team because it was more or less like partner in a lot of struggles for Nigeria. Everywhere you see Ashiwaju, you will see like. I can remember sometime Ashiwaju is talking. He said, "Let me just drop it. Lai complete." And you know, so we will say that by virtue of that you don't have a relationship with Ashiwaju any longer, or you have become, sorry, it's the media that used that word, failed politician. So, what's the relationship with Ashiwaju?
Excellent. And I'm sure that my leaders are here. People is here. There's Rajim Uchiwara here. Excellent. You see, I keep telling people what's between me and Ashiwaju goes beyond political office. Ashiwaju plucked me from political oblivion and brought me to political limelight. When Ashiwaju made me chief of staff, Lagos State, he knew the risk he was taking. He knew I was from Kwara State. And I remember, God bless Mama. The day that's Ashiwaju's mother. He went and complained to her that the people in Alausa, they will go on strike if Lai Mohammed should resume with you as chief of staff. What do you say, Mama? It's so fun. And tí o bá fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́, kó máa lọ lé. Lẹ́kẹ́ máa dì mọ́ báàgì mi ni. In other words, look, nobody will stop me from making Lai Mohammed my chief of staff. Now, I remember also some people who went and complained about the cabinet in Lagos State, that I was from Kwara State, everybody was from Osun State, Wale Odun was from Ogun State, Attorney General then Oshibaju from Ogun State, Lalai from Oyo State, Ilalake from Ekiti State, and that what are these foreigners doing? Lagos State cabinet. And I told them very calmly. I say, you know what? See, all these people that you have mentioned, they were approved by the House of Assembly. But you see, Lai, it's my own personal choice. If you want, take all the others, but this one will stay with me. So, that is connection between me and him. And that's why when I listen to, these naysayers and food is ready politicians, I just laugh.
Okay. So, you have an excellent relationship with Ashiwaju.
Absolutely. And you can see in this book too.
Yes,
it's very important.
I don't want to buy the book.
Thank you.
Buy the book so that you can hear more about that relationship. I will ask, sorry, I said one more, but I'll make it two. I just remembered something. Because you mentioned Kwara State. You are from Kwara State. The story, you didn't put it in this book. But the story we heard was that Alhaji Lai Mohammed orchestrated the change of government in Kwara State with that slogan, Otoge. What happened? Why that slogan? And then they said you did it by loading a plane with so much cash that you use cash to do Otoge. Is it true?
You see, like I said, some people are wired to believe the worst about government and other people. You see, Otoge actually did not start in 2019. Otoge started, I think, about 2016, 2015, but it did not catch any fire. Otoge in Missouri, you are here. Thank you very much. She's one of the leaders in Kwara State too. You see, Otoge means enough is enough.
Yeah, we know.
And it was, I think, a battle cry of the people of Kwara against domination by one person. Now, what happened in 2019, I think, was just God.
Say enough is enough.
Yes. Because in 2019, a couple of things happened ahead of 2019. We had a national convention in 2018. And I went to the President Buhari. So, Excellency, that was the night of the convention. So, Excellency, I'm sure they have told you that I'm doing anti-party. Said, it is true, sir. I'm doing anti-party. You know, he does not talk. I said, I'm doing anti-party because I know that the Senate president is going to leave our party. But before he leaves, he's going to install a national publicity secretary. And he's going to install, an executive both in Kwara and at the national level that will be doing his bidding, even from another party. Buhari said, okay, go and meet the governor of Jigawa then. He was the chairman of the National Convention Committee. I said, because I have another candidate. That candidate, it's Onilu. He said, go and meet the chairman of the National Convention. So I went to him. He was, no, I didn't meet him, so sorry. I went to his, I didn't meet him, yes. Then I started campaigning. I went to every governor telling them that for this election, our candidate is Onilu, and I was not going to vote for, what's his, yeah? Abdullah.
Yes.
The only person who told me the truth was Alegbe Shola. Alegbe said, Edmond, we have concluded this thing. You are going to lose. Abdullah will become our national police secretary. Okay. But you see, during that night, when they started voting, out of respect for the president, Katsina was asked to come and vote first. And Buhari is a very loyal person. He voted for Onilu. How did I know? Masari called me and said, look, President voted for your man, but you are going to lose. And we lost. But fortunately for me, just as I predicted, Dr. Bukola Saraki left APC and went to PDP. The moment that happened, because all along, I told you I've been doing anti-party. I had my own structures in Kwara. So as soon as that happened, the national chairman of the party, comrade, called me and said, Lai, your caretaker, look, that your structure becomes the caretaker committee of the party. Now, that was the situation where we started Otoge. Now, just shortly after that, I'd lost my cousin, Funke Adedoyin, who was representing my constituency in APC in Kwara State. So there was a by-election. At this time, the governor was PDP. All the members of House all the members of Senate were PDP. House of Reps, all of them, PDP. All council chairmen were PDP. Of the 24 members in the House of Assembly, only one was APC. So when my colleagues encouraged me to go and we should go and field a candidate for the by-election, I said, why are we going to waste our time and money? And we're going to lose. And the fellow will stay there only for 4 or 5 months. Let's use those resources, and let's use the time to build up against, the 2019 elections. But I was overruled by my advisors. They said, let's even see how well we can do. So we started. And in the middle of the election, it was a small election, just my own constituency, Rekordon, I think, Isin and Co. Anyway, as the results were coming in, the then governor of Borno State, who is now the vice president, called me. He said, Laddie, what I'm hearing, is it true? I said, it depends on what you are hearing, sir. He said, we are hearing that you might win the election. I said, well, we have won it, sir. So it was that by-election that we won for House of Reps. That was the ginger. When we won that election, it really emboldened us and encouraged us to go for the full 2019 elections.
Okay, that was a bonus. I'm giving people bonus.
That was the trigger.
So I'm giving people bonus. It's not in this book. Thank me. Okay, Alaji, this is my last question. Somebody say thank God. This is my last question, Alaji. Tell me, what was the 2 most difficult decisions you ever made as a minister? They were tough. Make it.
I think the first one I've told is Twitter. The second was calling out CNN. You see, CNN bullies everybody because of their reputation, because of their global reach. They bully everybody and they lie. And when it came to the situation at the toll gate, I took them on because they lied. They were not on ground. They relied on videos that were sent to them, and they were reporting as if they were actually on ground. That was professional misconduct. So, and incidentally, I remember after our press conference, which called out CNN, we were going to Paraquat one day, and some of my ministers they didn't know I was behind them. He said, look, he said, this lie is too arrogant. How can he go and challenge CNN? I just laugh at them. But the truth of the matter was that CNN lied. CNN relied on videos that were made and sent to them as if they were on ground. You see, taking up an organization like CNN, you are not going to have many friends. And the sanctions that I recommended against CNN were approved by Mahmoud Buhari, but they were thwarted by my own colleagues who checked now and said, can you go and sanction CNN? But CNN, they are human. They are not infallible. But I think, of course, NSAS, all these problems are with NSAS. NSAS, honestly, I believe that, because up to today, the average Nigerian still believes people were killed at the toll gate. There's nothing you can tell them. But it is not true, because, you see, there's a procedure. When soldiers are going to call a riot, they tell them there's a procedure. They go to the armory. They sign for bullets. They sign for ammunition. They sign for guns. and it was blank shot because I was always in touch with the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Army Staff. So I knew what was going on.
Thank you so much, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. It's been a moderating this book with you. And like I keep saying, what he just said is not half of what is in this book. There's a lot of stories. It's so sweet. It's a book you can just... And the good thing about the book is you don't have to start from chapter 1 to chapter 2. There are stories that interest you, just go. And you just read it and you enjoy it. It's a vintage. If you enjoy Alhaji Lai Mohammed when he gives interview, you really enjoy this book. The other question I didn't ask you, but somebody might ask you, how did you transform from an opposition leader, spokesperson, to a ministerial, to a minister? Because we know opposition to always see the bad in everything good. And all of a sudden, you are see the good even in what we see as bad. And I remember when you went to the Senate for confirmation, the current Godwin Akpabio said, when they were trying to ask you questions, they wanted to bully you, and he stood up and said, look, this man has been an opposition leader for a very long time. He has done very well. Please, can we recommend he take it out? So that's how much you achieve as an opposition leader. But I'll leave that if anybody is going to ask that question. And if they don't ask that question, if there is time, you might talk about it. But if no time, read the book. So you're asking a leading question. Okay. Time for question and answers. If you are online, please just send your question to us. If you are online, we'll try as much as possible. We are going to take 5 questions from those here.
I'm probably the only Nigerian who back to back for 18 years was spokesperson for the opposition for 10 years and 8 years spokesperson for the government. Now, see, being in opposition is completely different from being in government. Being in opposition, your constituency is just your party. And you have only one goal. How does your party win elections? And in doing so, you can afford to be audacious. You can take risks. But when you are in government, the whole country is your constituency. When I was spokesperson for APC, ACN, all was my business about a federal character. If you get in the way of ACN, would criticize you. Does not matter where we come from. But the moment you become the minister, certain considerations will come to play. And rightly use the word adversarial. The job of the media is cut out for it in the Constitution, which is you must hold accountable the government of the day. So, while we had the power in government, the media had the accountability, and they must make us, account for what we are doing. The media has not changed the adversarial role because they are the watchdog. And my advice to government, the government's purpose is that you must make friends and make partners with the media. The media is not the opposition, they are amplifiers. They are your opponents in a way, but they are very powerful ones. But what do? You make friends with them. I remember that all throughout the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, Punch newspaper never referred to him as president. They referred to him as general. Despite the fact that he won election twice. But for me as Minister of Information, I did not take it against a Punch. I went to their offices, I visited them, I included them in my trips. Or Daily Trust. Daily Trust was unrelenting in criticizing our administration. What do? You try and move towards them. You can never fight the media. You will lose at the end of the day. Draw them near. Thank you.
What a wisdom. Fight the media. Draw them near. Okay. Me, I won't fight the media. Okay, I have Alhaji, I have 2 questions here. It's not me, it's not me. It's not my question. No. It's online. It's not my question. Me, I didn't ask any question. I was just reading from the book. It's the book. Okay. This one is, they say, I am Ahmed Rufai, Director of Finance, Lagos State Higher Institution Student Bulletin, Eco Bulletin. Considering the rapid growth of digital journalism, citizen reporting, AI-generated content, and increasing concern about misinformation, how do you envision the future of the Nigerian media ecosystem in the nearest future, particularly in balancing press freedom, national security, and responsible journalism?
Thank you very much. There must be a regulation. The social media must be regulated. Social media regulation does not mean censorship. You see, it's like social media is like having a vehicle without any brakes. Now, honestly, that is exactly what it is. You see, today, anybody with enough data can go to that room and make a video, and the whole world will share it, it goes viral. No. Even in developed worlds today, social media is being regulated. In Australia, for instance, if you are under 16, you have no access to social media. Because people think it is the government that is really the victim of social media. No. Many marriages have been destroyed by social media. Young men and women have committed suicide because they were bullied on the social media. So we must have the courage to regulate social media. We tried it. We invited NUJ, we invited Guild of Editors, they all shunned us. But today, they are all victims of the abuse of the social media. So my answer is that we must regulate without, really censoring freedom of the press.
Okay, thank you. A second question again. Thank you, Alhaji. This section has been enlightening and engaging. The book has helped us confront issues that were previously misunderstood. How will encourage incumbent political leader to intentionally create time for similar reflective forum for open dialogue, honest listening, and engagement like this while staying in office to help bridge the gap between policy decision and citizens' living reality, clearly misunderstood pain point, and foster more empathetic, responsive governance? I think this is just a suggestion. It's not really a question.
I think everybody who has had the opportunity to have served should please document, the experience. The contemporary history will be incomplete if those of us who have been privileged to serve as ministers, as governors, if we do not document, what we went through. Because there's a lot of misconceptions about government. More of fact, the moment you are made a minister, the impression is that you are made for life. That you can never, you will never be in want of money again. No, but they think that you have a safe in your office that you can just open and give money to everybody. The moment you become a minister, you become the Ashwaju in your village. And of course, you know the responsibility that goes with it. We must change this. Ministers are just public servants. Ministers are there to represent you. But we are the ones that we hero worship our ministers and our governors, and in the process, they will dip their hands into the public purse because of the expectations of the public. So I think it's important. Let them know that what we mean. There are many things that a minister goes through. I'll give you an example. It's a pity that sometimes in government you can go to jail by being honest. Mr. Mtademi remembers this example I want to give. We were supposed to go to China. And, you know, this civil servant balance, they said the money had not dropped. Technically, what it means is that even though there's budgetary provision, but there has been no disbursement. So, and we are representing an organization. We are leading one of the parastatals. So, it was suggested that why doesn't that parastatal give us the money? When we come back, we pay. And because of our background, I said to put it in writing. We wrote a memo to this parastatal. Said, you are going to pay for our journey. But when we come back, we'll reimburse you because our money has not been, has not dropped, as they say. By the time, well, I wrote the memo. The memo was leaked. I was in Lagos when Shore called me and said, Honorable Minister, is it true that you have asked MBC to loan you 8 million? I said, yes. I said, you know that is wrong? I said, why? He said, that is called viment. I said, listen, I wanted to steal the money. I could just have given oral, directive. But to show my, honesty of purpose, that's why I put in writing. So it was one matter. It became a national matter. The president actually called me. Said, Lai, what's going on? Say, Excellency, we are supposed to go to China. Our money has not dropped. And we said we should just take. And then he said, look, say, Lai, you are wrong. But that's called viment. And it's wrong in the civil service. Whereas, if I just give you instruction, give us 10 million, we would go and come back. So that's why I said in government, a lot of booby traps. And this is why it is important to write these things so that people coming in will know that this is how to navigate the landscape of public service.
Thank you. Can you just give me two of those questions that were written out?
So the first person asked, what personal experience influenced the book? What personal experience influenced the book? That's the first question. And the second said, as an envoy of Lagos State Higher Institutional Student Bulletin, my question is, what role do you think young communicators, informations, carrying individual or bodies should play in shaping national discourse and building trust between the government and the citizens through information? So the third says, how did you navigate your role with all the propaganda by the international news agency? So can we answer the three first? Because
I think I've answered that question.
Okay, so I'll skip that. He said, so another person said, good day, Alaji. What is happening in Kwara APC today? You appear to have taken a sit-down look approach. are there issues between you and the current governor? And how will this affect the fortunes of the party in Kwara? And the last question says,
We are reviewing the book. We are reviewing the book. So if he wants to come in, he can come in. But
okay.
Maybe.
So the last person says, the last person said, you only told us about Otoge and the plans around it. The question the moderator asked is that you load the plane with money, yes or no?
You see, what happened in Otoge really was that was a grassroots campaign. It was a campaign where we spent less money. We couldn't even afford to spend as much money as a sitting governor. Because if you recall, elections took place in an atmosphere where the governor was PDP, the senators were PDP, House of Reps were PDP, council chairmen were PDP, and even of the 24 members of House of Assembly, only one was APC. Where would the money come from? But everybody was committed and passionate to deliver, to deliver his or her post. I remember in the run-up, we started the election and we were already winning. Then I got a call from INEC saying that because one particular political party was omitted, they will have to cancel the election and they will be rerun. I said, people in Kwara will kill all of you. If you let them hear, if anybody believes that he has been, let him go to court. It was the first, honestly, in the history of Nigeria, is the first movement that will sweep, a sitting government with, like I said, the only one person, the only public official we had was a member of House of Assembly. Every other person was PDP. So where would he get the money from? No.
Okay, Alaji. They said you should answer Kwara politics. Yeah, they say you are doing sit-down look.
It's not possible. Because even yesterday, I was with my chairman, Kwara, Fagbemi, because there was an issue as to the guideline says all those who have done only one term should be returned. Now, they now called me from home that there's a problem in my ward and my local government. I said, what is it? Said that they don't want a consensus. So I called my people. What's wrong? Said, no. They want a consensus. They have no problem. But the incumbent has done 2 terms. So I went back to the NEC official and I said, this is situation. He said he would cross-check from the chairman. So I called the chairman myself. Chairman, what is going on? Chairman said, yes, it's a problem and it's nationwide. He said, they said that those who came in as caretaker committee members, they are not elected. Therefore, you cannot count that term for them. And I now called it, I said, I will call the National Secretary. Please make that clarification. That it's only elected officials that have done 2 terms that will be barred from the election. So that shows you that even after yesterday, I was in touch.
So you're still in touch with them.
Thank you.
So I think people from Unilab last week said they want to talk. But before this, that will be the last bus we'll take. Alaji, in just one question, just one answer, yes or no. In Buhari administration.
Even in my house, there's a cabal.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, sir. And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Agosa Ibidi Emmanuel, a student of Lagos State University from the Department of Guidance and Counseling, and also a member of Eco Bulletin Envoy. All right. So I want to congratulate you, sir, for the launching of the book, sir. And also, there is one question that has been bothering me so far, because I tend to look at it like from a political scientist view, because according to Thomas Dye, he said public policy can be defined as what government chooses to do and not to do. So as a result of that, when you're talking about the Buhari administration, about its fight against corruption, and then looking at Nigeria of today, and they will look at the scale of corruptions that is still going on in the country, then the question that bothers me is that what is it that he ought to have done, you understand, to reduce corruption that he did not do? So that's it, sir.
When we won elections in 2015, I had no inkling at all I would be a minister. Until one day, when the president called me and said, Lai, where are you seeing this book? I said, I'm in Lagos, sir. He said, what are you doing in Lagos? That's when I say I live in Lagos, sir. Can't you come in for the meeting of the transition committee? I said, sir, I'm not a member. I said, okay. Tunde will contact you. Within 2 hours, I got a call from Tunde, his essay, that why should you drop a letter inviting me to the meeting? So I asked him to drop it in Lagos State. There's an office. So the following morning, I was in Abuja for the transition committee. That was the first inkling I had that I might be made a minister. Immediately I got that inkling, I called my team, Sadi Emi and Co. Said, look, what should be our most important project as a minister? We agreed that it should be attitudinal change. Nigerians must imbibe the ethos of discipline, integrity, hard work, industry, and they must eschew corruption, bribery, and economic sabotage. So we raised money among my friends, and we engaged an advertising campaign, an advertising company to draw up advertising campaign for us, so that we would be able to fight corruption. So we tagged it, Change Begins With Me. I don't know how many people that remember that campaign. But we failed. You see, Nigeria is a very, very funny country. The first problem we had, after cobbling funds from friends and everybody to start that campaign, the day that campaign was launched by Buhari, apparently a lazy officer in the presidency, because what you do is that if you are the owner of the project, the president will ask you to give a draft speech. You send the draft speech will be tinkered with at the presidency. That's their business. But this lazy officer went and included a quote by Obama without giving credit to Obama. So, of all the good things the president said that day, somebody just came and punctured it and said, look, this is plagiarism, that we are copying Obama. That was the first problem we had. The second problem we had was that a young man came to me after I became a minister and said he had an idea. It was along the same line, but Change Begins With Me. And I said, listen, it's not, this is an idea I've worked on. So, I'm sorry. We cannot take it. He went ahead to blackmail us using newspapers and online. The only person who came to my rescue was then the COO of MTN. And it was just fortuitous because he kept to me the eve of my being sworn in. And because previously the Minister of Information was also the Minister of Communication in the previous administration. So he thought I was going to be Minister of Communication. So he said MTN would want to work with me as Minister of Communication. I said, look, I'm not sure I will be Minister of Communication, but I'm sure I might be Minister of Information. However, I also want to work with you because I need money. I want you to sponsor this project, Change Begins with me. Now, so the program, even from inception, became controversial. We ran out of money. I went and approached the Governors Forum to give us money. Didn't get any money from anybody. When the little money I had finished, we could only sustain that campaign on NTA and FRCA. However, whether we want it or not, until there's a national rebirth in Nigeria, we will not defeat corruption. Because corruption is not just at the high level. The gate man is corrupt too. The reception is corrupt. The driver is corrupt. I hope my driver is not around here. You know? So we need to really have that campaign. And it should start at the level of primary school. Because I'm told that even elections today in primary school for class monitor, they are using money. So, on a more serious note, we need that national rebirth. That's the only way to address corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Alaji. Thank you, Alaji. I think we have come to the end of this exciting book review. Anchor book review. I think this is one of the most exciting I've anchored. Maybe because it has to do, or maybe it's giving me more confidence. Okay, I would like to invite my auntie. She always likes doing things behind the scenes. You never see her come in front. She's always behind the scenes. But she's the driving force behind whatever you're enjoying. Today, I was made to understand she sat down in 2020 during COVID, and she came up with this idea. And she has brought Who is Who to come and talk about one book or the other. And she has taken it to the next level. Before now, when you come to bookshop, you don't see Nigerian authors. She not only go to get those authors, he bring those authors to review their books. Please help me welcome Mrs. Yinka Morgan.
Thank you so much for a job well done. Well done. Let's put hands together again for the moderator and for Alhaji Lai. I'd met him over 30, 40 years ago through my late father, Chief Alade Oluchunubi. So meeting me again today after so many years was wonderful. It has been such a very robust conversation, very, very robust. And I know you still have so much to say. You could meet with him, but we all know he's fasting, and some of you are fasting. But we have to, everything good always has to come to an end. But there's no end because you'll be available to have conversations with everyone that has come to this meeting and those online. So it shows that there's still hunger for information. So we'll try and see what we can put together. There's something we're coming up with, which might not be on Zoom, where you can meet some authors here. Just have what we call honest conversations, candid conversations. It has to happen. But something that every one of us have to do is we don't want our children to have this corruption mind. So we have to deal with it. Or else that next generation will also be thinking of money. And it's affecting the whole nation. So it's something that, yes, we can laugh about it, but let's think of the children that are coming behind us. The values that we had, the values that our parents transferred to us, the values that our great-grandparents transferred, are we sure we're transferring it? There's still a lot of work to be done. So it doesn't end here, Alaji, about this book. Not just the book, and also information, rebirthing Nigeria, fighting corruption, everything that you have said. There was something you said just before I round up. You said government has the power, and the media has the accountability and the ambassadorial role. It says, but media and government have to be friends. They cannot fight the media. So the media people here, let's put our hands together for you. What we want you to do is project Nigeria and the government positively. Because and that is happening already. It's already happening. We see what's going on with the social media and what's happening internationally with our music industry. It's happening. But we can do better to project Nigeria. And I know that Nigeria still has a higher height in this year, 2026. There's still a lot to be done. 10 more months to go. We can still make impact. We can still transform this country. All of us will play that little role. So on this note, I want to say thank you for the politicians, the friends, the invitees, the media, LASU students. I've seen so many important people, the professional people in our midst, the ladies that have come to support you. So we want to say thank you. And your classmates, I know one of them that I invited, she said she was your classmate in law school. I see her at the back there. Without mentioning names, if I have to mention names, it will be everybody. I want to say thank you. Put your hands together for yourself. It's a sacrifice, 2 hours in a month, but I don't think it's also a sacrifice. It's just 2 hours to make impact. But you can always come back. We have a coffee shop. You can go around the bookstore. But what is most importantly, because I asked, has anyone bought the book? And the response was not so. So please buy the book. All the questions are hidden in the book. You want to hide something from a black man? You put it in the book. You know that saying. So I think don't go away without buying, because he's poured out his heart into these 19 chapters in the book. So interesting. Very, very interesting. And it's 25,000. As we round up, we'll take pictures with him holding the book. And then as you go out, please invest in the book. So on behalf of Mr. and Pastor Remy Morgan, he's unavoidably absent, and the Latana team at the back, I want to say thank you for coming to the book club. This is about we've done about over 80 books, about 2 books a month, 1 book a month. It was during COVID that we thought, when there was so much wrong information going around, we felt, no, let's turn it around and get the right information around. With the book club, and there are many book clubs in Nigeria, but people don't know. Let's make impact. Let's transform the society. Let's transform the children. Let's build leaders, because our children are tomorrow leaders. And what we do to these children is what will transform the country. So I want to say thank you very much on behalf of Pastor Remy Morgan. He's watching. Latana team, thank you. And also our author for today, thank you for coming. Thank you for the impact. And I can see that there's so much you still need to pass on. Mukhtar, thank you so much. So let's stand together as we round up.
I just want to thank everybody who has taken the time to be here. I thank you very much. I have also, because I told you about my Chief Mrs. Loretta Smith. I also have a couple of classmates. There's Mrs. Ladner, who were classmates in France, University of Ife. I don't know my law school counterpart there. Yes. So I thank, and of course my political leaders are all here. I thank you very much. I can see Dr. David here also. I see Mr. Yanwale. I see so many. Dr. Thank you so much for being here. I sent out, and of course Abimbola is the one writing my biography. So, and I hope that very soon that will be ready too. Pardon? And that's true. So honestly, I can't thank everybody enough. And my appeal is honestly all of us who have had the grace of God and the privilege to have been in one position or the other, please let's document it. Let's document it for posterity. Once again, I thank everybody taking time out in this period to come.